Hello and welcome to Legislative Report. I'm State Representative Mario Scavello of the 176th District in Monroe County. On today's program, we'll be focusing on the local group Monroe CARE, stands for Citizens Against Regulatory Excess. This group of professionals from a variety of backgrounds works towards improving the regulatory climate so that our area can experience the growth that comes from more jobs and more affordable living. Joining me today are co-chairs Monroe CARE, Michael Baxter and Chuck Leonard. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Of all the programs that I do, I think this is one of the most important because we're going to explaining some particulars on how a particular company is coming into the area, because everyone thinks that big tax breaks and they just don't really quite understand it. And I've in the community, I've had those discussions with numerous people, but every once in a while, if you don't get that opportunity, you start reading a letter to the editor and they just don't understand it, don't get it.
And that was the reason for this presentation, Mario, is because we don't think people understand it. And, you know, besides our role as co-chairs of CARE, I'm the chairman of the PMEDC and Chuck is the executive director. So our job, our number one job is to bring jobs into Monroe County.
Yeah.
But I don't think people realize the impact that has fiscally by bringing those jobs in.
And the problems that we go through in the approval process, and many of these companies that look at us, because of, we are in an environmentally sensitive area, and unfortunately, in many cases, companies don't want to wait that period of time through our approvals, and we've lost numerous amount of jobs over in the last few years. Am I correct?
Absolutely. We have difficult competing for certain projects because of our timeline. And that's what the purpose of CARE, to reduce that timeline so that companies can get into the ground and deliver on their promise and meet the requirements of their windows of opportunity.
Yeah, before I forget, I applaud both you gentlemen, because the time you take, and just to put this Monroe CARE together, and on every other week, you're either your setup meeting and your meetings, and you're getting people together. You haven't dropped the ball. You're really constantly moving this forward, because this is so important to the recovery in Monroe County.
Thank you. And we've made some progress in the last 3 years. We have a long way to go, but we've made some progress. And I think, again, the purpose of this presentation is to get the general public to understand what's in it for them.
Exactly.
Instead of fighting, when a company wants to come into the area,
exactly.
They should be welcoming with open arms, because there's so much competition out there for these companies.
And you know what, reading everything in the newspaper doesn't pretty much justify it, because they don't write the whole story.
No.
They don't explain the whole story.
No.
So I think in today's program we're going to be able to explain that. So I'm really looking forward to the presentation.
Great.
Good.
Should we get started?
Let's get started.
Well, again, it's entitled Improving Our Economic Environment Through Job Creation. People really don't like taxes. People really don't like taxes. Now, that may seem like an obvious statement, but the biggest crisis we have in Monroe County right now is real estate taxes.
Exactly.
But we need taxes to pay for the things we need and want. Our schools, our police programs, our roads and services, and preserving our quality of life.
Sure.
New jobs help everyone. New earners contribute to rather than draw from the community. They remove people from social service roles. New businesses fund infrastructure improvements like roads and utilities, which, as you know, we desperately need. And business tap into fewer public services, further reducing burden on homeowners.
Businesses don't put children in the school.
Exactly. Manufacturing jobs, something we need, high tech.
Distribution.
And one of the reasons why we are such a prime location is our proximity to the population. More than 40% of the United States population lives within 6 hours of Monroe County. It's called the Bosch-Wash megalopolis. And that's why a lot of these companies look at us on the map and say, you can get almost anywhere from here.
Yeah. And I remember the pasta manufacturer with the flour mill. The whole idea of bringing the flour mill to Mount Pocono was that they would create another 250 jobs. At that time, however, the sewer wasn't available because of the issues that we went through, because there would have been another 200 high-paying jobs. But those are the burdens that we run into. Every time we run into these things, unfortunately, that company went somewhere else.
And the public then, if you remember, was up in arms against them.
Yeah.
when they didn't realize how those jobs would have helped them in the long run.
Exactly. And they would have won all local jobs. They would have trained. They only bring one person. Those are the, when you look at those losses, if we could have had those as victories, where we'd be today. And the environmental folks need to understand, not one person out there wants to pollute a stream or anything else. We want the same things, but we just need help so that we can get to those things and have the dollars even there to help preserve some of those lands.
Well, when we started Monroe CARE, one of our objectives was to strike that balance between the environment and business, and that's what we need to do. We can't be extremists on either side. Yeah. Like you said, we want to have our quality of life too, but we can't make it so expensive for a company to deal with the environmental controls that they can't afford to be here. Right. And nobody's going to wait 2 or more years to get approvals and entitlements, and that's where we kind of lose them.
Yeah, and especially if they're looking to move fairly quickly, because usually these companies, when they make that decision, they don't want to wait. They want to just go ahead and build their building and bring their jobs. Yeah.
Our leaders meet with hundreds of prospects each year.
Yeah, and that's basically what we're talking about. That's what you guys do. And yeah.
We work closely, as you know, with the Governor's Action Team. We work closely with your office, Rosemary's office. Anytime we have an employer looking to come in this area, Chuck and his staff are fantastic as far as walking them through the programs.
We should mention too that the Corbett administration has made some changes to the permitting process that have been absolutely very helpful, and we hope that that will continue.
We need to be business friendly,
right.
not to cut any, but be business friendly. Understand that time costs companies money.
Well, we were very fortunate. The timing of Monroe CARE when we started it was the election year, and we got to meet with then candidate Corbett and his wife and explain, some of the problems we've had. And to Governor Corbett's credit, he's really initiated, some of the ideas that we passed on. And again, we've made progress. We have a long way to go, but we're definitely getting there. Reasons companies don't locate in our area. Local zoning issues. This is a big thing. Some of our townships, conditional use hearings and conditional use procedures scare companies away. Infrastructure challenges. That's probably our biggest challenge, is we don't have the infrastructure for some of the companies that we really want to attract, some of the food processors, some of the manufacturing companies. The length of the permitting process or contradictory and costly compliance. We've actually heard from companies in New Jersey that you can't get in the ground up there. And when I started in the business, we used to tell people 6 months. Now we tell people at least 24 months. And when we tell a prospect that on the phone, Mario,
they're running.
They're, not when New Jersey is rolling the red carpet out and saying, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do that, we'll just permit you quickly. Yeah. We lose them.
Yeah, people don't understand that when the delays, and the other thing that we have is so many municipalities, and sometimes when the mill was one of the best examples, where it was in 4 different municipalities came together there, and 4 different municipalities with different zoning. So we run into these issues where you have double a project in 2 municipalities. It slows the process down a little bit.
Some municipalities inadvertently restrict economic growth, and a lot of this is being improved upon. We're getting more townships on the same page and getting more of a regional effect, but most of the zoning is very outdated. And that, again, inadvertently restricts. We don't think they're doing it on purpose, but it definitely puts obstacles in the way. Structural compliance issues, highway occupancy permit. Mario, that's one of my soapboxes. It's just very, very difficult and an expensive procedure.
I've been told that they are working it through the online, but it could be better.
It's improved significantly.
It has improved.
It has improved significantly.
It still hasn't to the level that we need.
Well, the problem we have is the way some of these rules bounce off each other. For example, the Uniform Construction Code requires the township or municipality to confirm that there's a valid HOP for virtually any permit that a business wants to acquire, and there's no grandfathering. And so we've had a number of examples of projects that would have gone forward, but for this requirement for a highway occupancy permit when you have a company that's been where it exists for 50, 60, 70 years in some cases. You know, we have one specific example where we lost 12 jobs, and granted, that doesn't sound like a lot, but 12 jobs is 12 jobs, where there was no existing highway occupancy permit for a company that had been at the same location for 65 years.
Those are the things that you want to shake your head and say, you just can't believe it. And some of these new companies actually would have less traffic into that area than the prior company. And yeah, things like that need to be constantly looked at, and there's got to be some type of grandfathering.
And that's going to probably take some real work and legislative changes, because I think probably 75% of the commercial properties in Monroe County anyway don't have highway occupancy permits. They have those open driveways. So PennDOT kind of flexes their muscles and says, okay, you're going to sell the property, the buyer or the seller has to make all these improvements. And we've, like Chuck said, we've lost 5 or 6 deals because the improvements were in excess of $100,000.
Yeah. When the Commonwealth was introducing the code, I was vehemently opposed to it. I said, this is going to take on a life of its own, and it is going to be one of the highest tax increases you can put on the backs of the general public. I tried to repeal it back when I was in my initial days on the Labor and Industry Committee. And sure enough, if you follow some of the things that have been adopted, and this is a perfect example of it being in the code, the municipality has to wait for PennDOT and so it really generates more and more, who's paying for it? It's the taxpayer, and in most cases, that individual is not going to create the jobs there. He's going to go somewhere else.
In many cases, these come out, these changes in these rules come out as circulars, as recommendations that aren't, blessed by the legislature, or even they don't even go sometimes through the Independent Regulatory Review Commission. They just here's a recommendation,
and they get adopted.
Well, and they become law because, and I say law, I put quotation marks around that, but because they're enforced on a local basis as a forerunner to a granting of a permit. Yeah. And so you have to do it, or you don't get your permit from your township, for your community.
Infrastructure challenges. Again, this is probably our biggest issue. Highway capacity, I mean, obviously 80 goes right through our county, so we're an ideal location, but improvements need to be made to that. Water sewer capacity is our biggest issue. A lot of these companies require...
Actually, we have no problem with the water. It's just
the sewer.
We don't have anything for you to do with it once you're done with it.
Right.
And that's a real challenge for us.
Utilities like natural gas and electricity, again, we're making progress on that, but we got a long way to go.
We have one of the lowest natural gas penetrations of counties in the state of Pennsylvania.
Wow. And
we'd like to see that expand, of course, because it's a critical question now. With if you've compared the price of heating your home with oil and natural gas, and you extrapolate that into what an industry uses, you understand why you want natural gas in your community.
And it gives an option to people, and when you have an option, sometimes it does drive the oil price down as well. So let's say if you don't want to change, when having that option available gives you choices. And I think that's what it's all about, giving choices. We have put a line into the Pocono Township area, and hopefully that will get extended down, and then we're looking at a line also to go out to Pocono Summit.
Right.
So, and we'll talk about that project later, but basically, which we're doing our best. And I know with sewer, Pocono Township has just put theirs in, but at a high cost, at a very high cost. And we're going to try to help some of those residential residents, because they really are and that's why we need business. It'll help the residential residents. Mount Pocono's plant, of course, it's capped. So up at the top of the mountain, we have a problem.
And then the last one is broadband services. We're making progress, but the companies now are more high-tech than ever, and they're looking for higher speeds,
Exactly.
much stronger infrastructure there. Length of the permitting process is our second biggest problem. Sequential process steps consume time that concurrent steps could reduce.
Sure.
Doesn't make sense to have one approval, then get another approval, when you could be doing it together.
At the same time.
And we have made some progress there with some pre-development meetings with the Conservation District, et cetera. So, but boy, we still have a long way to go. Some groups abuse the comment process in an effort to delay stall projects. And again, this is why we're going to get into some actual numbers of fiscal impact, because I think if we educate the general public as to how it affects them and then maybe their real estate taxes, they won't show up at those meetings and,
Sure.
and speak against a project that they really don't understand. Better communication and collaboration in advance of development can help. That's those meetings I'm talking about. They have saved tons of time, and I think they should be in every project. Every project they should be utilized. This is one of the issues that is a little bit tougher to deal with. Different agency standards may conflict. The applicant bears the cost to negotiate the middle ground.
Yeah.
There are DEP regulations that directly conflict with PennDOT regulations, and Chuck will give you an example, I guess, of shoulders of the roads and things like that.
Right. For example, PennDOT allows a 4-foot shoulder, but to meet requirements of ADA, you need 8 feet. So it's like, even though they say you can build 4 feet, you can't. You have to build 8. So,
and these are both state agencies, so they come.
And the ADA
comes from
that's feds.
The ADA comes from
That's
the feds.
feds.
But,
Right.
And if you look at some locations where you'll see a new signal out on the west end and on the corners where there's no sidewalks,
Right.
we're mandated by the federal ADA laws that we have to put those ramps on a ramp, basically a ramp to nowhere on the
Right.
4 corners.
Right.
Right. And that's the highway project that we're doing right now. We're doing 8-foot shoulders, and we're providing handicap access in areas where you'd never want to have a wheelchair,
Right.
ever.
Right.
You know?
Conflicting standards and/or remediation can take years to achieve.
Yeah.
And again, years chases the companies away. Costs can spiral to a point that makes Monroe County unfeasible. And we've run into this time and time again where they have us down to the short list, and we're competing against other sites, and the costs in Monroe County are so much higher that they choose the other site, and often in other states, so we lose them completely.
And some of these other sites, of course, they have brownfield. There's some
Sure.
other attractions, and that comes into that cost issue as well.
And then there's Chapter 102 regulations, which is, it's a common topic, but it's resulted in fewer usable acres. It's actually taken land away. We've lost 35 acres of our industrial park. We still owe the county the money that they lent us to.
Why don't you explain it, Chuck? Because people see Chapter 102 and
Well, there's a variety of requirements that have come down via this change in regulation, but the one that really critically impacts us is the 150-foot buffer from exceptional value and high-quality waterways, and I think that that means you cannot build within that area, and as a consequence, we bought this land and did a business plan based on a 50-foot buffer. And of course, you put the infrastructure in and do your estimations and your business plan, and to recover your dollars, you need as many acres as you can get. And this 150-foot buffer that now has been imposed on us, there's no grandfathering. You have to meet this new requirement. It reduces the amount of yield you have, and so as a consequence, when a company comes and looks at your property, you say, "I got 10 acres."
you might have 5.
Right, and it's a 10, but you have to buy all 10 to get to 5,
Yeah.
and so as a consequence, our land has been devalued to an actual extent, and it's a real critical problem for us.
And for the most part, we in Monroe County have done a great job maintaining our streams. We got so many organizations here that really take a good look, and that's why they're exceptional value.
We've actually been penalized because of that.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to get. We get penalized because we've done a good job.
And when you draw a 150 circle around a wetland, that has a huge impact. And again, we want to make this very clear, Mario. We're all for the environment.
Sure.
Okay? Yeah. What we don't understand or what we don't agree with is to pick an arbitrary 150 feet statewide and just pick a number like that We don't know how they came up with the number.
Yeah.
It's just, we don't think it's reasonable. The science should rule.
Yeah, let the engineering decide.
Sometimes it should be 50 feet.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes it should be 250 feet.
Let the science dictate. I agree with you. I
To meet the
totally-
requirements of the Clean Stream Act, which is what
Yeah.
102 is supposed to do, you ought to be able to have less than 150-foot buffer if you can meet those requirements.
Across the state where we have some serious problems in some of our streams, there's no setbacks.
Right.
The setbacks are only where you've done a good job maintaining your
Right.
your streams.
Right.
That-
Ironic,
ironic.
isn't it?
It sure is. Sure is.
Well, this is, again, the main reason for this presentation. How does responsible development help you? School tax payments may be developed. Properties add significant amounts to school district funds, which reduces the homeowner's burden. And again, this is what people don't really understand, what that tax impact could be. Taxes paid to the county help fund needed tax or county programs. As everybody knows, the counties had trouble balancing their budget for years, and it continues. Taxes paid to the municipality reduces the burden on residents. And again, here's where we want to show you actual numbers, because people understand numbers. We gain by saying yes to responsible development. Here's case number one, and this is a retail development, the shops at Stroud. They pay more than $220,000 in annual school taxes, nearly 2% of the district budget. They provide more than $23,000 to Stroud Township. They provide almost $30,000 to Monroe County, and $52 per employee's right-to-work tax also goes directly to the municipality. And this is a relatively small project, but look at the impact that it has on all of the taxing and governing bodies.
But also the jobs that were created there, the personal income tax and the earned income tax. That earned income tax gets split between the school district and the municipality. And then that, it's 1% that gets split, plus you have the 307 that comes to the state that helps pay for other,
The ripple effect is incredible,
Yeah.
incredible. And we've been able to quantify a lot of it, but the ripple effect, if we could quantify that, would be astronomical. Here's a tourism project, one of our biggest ones. But again, look at the impact. Great Wolf Lodge pays more than $900,000 in school taxes, more than $115,000 to Pocono Township, nearly $180,000 to Monroe County. $52 again per employee right-to-work tax goes directly to the municipality, and they provide more than $125,000 in earned income tax revenue, and that gets split between Pocono Township and the school district.
There you
But
go.
right there, one project's almost $1.5 million of revenue that brings in.
It's amazing. Without putting a child in a school.
That's right, and that doesn't take any, like you said, it doesn't take into consideration the fact that the employees there are made, they're more reliable tax payers themselves.
Yeah.
This is probably my favorite one, or the one that I think is the greatest illustration. Walmart Distribution Center, which we courted like crazy. And
I was a county commissioner. I went to the meetings. They're about ready to walk out. Remember, Chuck?
Yep.
But you still had people, that were against it. And now look at the impact that has now. Pays more than nearly $1.3 million in annual school taxes, $122,000 to Coolbaugh Township, $180,000 to Monroe County. Again, $52 per employee right-to-work tax goes right to the township, and $250,000 in earned income tax that gets split between the township and the school district. That's almost $2 million in revenues coming in because we attracted that company. Yeah. And this is the part that to me is the most dramatic. What if we didn't have that?
Yeah. $2 million.
What if the school district didn't have $1.3 million coming into their coffers?
We'd all be paying for it.
They're closing schools now.
Yeah.
They don't have enough money now.
Yeah.
And when you have a job or a company like this, where how many people work there?
1,000.
1,000 people. What about their spouses? What about the jobs that they take? Maybe in the resorts or the retail jobs, their kids when they get to be teenagers. Again, the ripple effect is incredible.
And all that revenue that they're making is going to get spent locally. So now, trickle-down economics. They're going into our stores, spending money, and when they spend that money, they're actually creating other jobs.
When we have a company like this or any clean industry that we attract, the rooms should be filled with people cheering them on, not fighting against them because of numbers like this, and that's why we want to show them.
1.3 million, I think, is 3 or 4 mills for.
For about that. Yeah, about 300 and was it 335?
Is it?
Yeah, something in that area per mill.
So more than 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But.
And this is the last example: is our established industrial parks. They provide more than $2 million in average annual real estate tax to Pocono Mountain School District, $300,000 in county tax revenue, $170,000 to the host municipality, and again back to the $52 per employee right to work tax, and $315,000 in EIT revenue. Now we're looking at $3 million. Now, again, we have a school tax crisis. You've been one of the leaders in fighting against it. If we could attract other companies like Walmart and Johnson & Johnson and build this tax base like that, we could put a control on real estate taxes.
Certainly right.
You know, we could certainly stop the bleeding, and maybe even someday, if we attract enough jobs, start seeing those numbers come down.
So when we have a job opportunity, a company coming to us, we need folks that go to these meetings and support. It's so easy to say no, but go to these meetings and support.
We need to become known as business friendly again, like we were in the 80s and the beginning of the 90s, and then we started kind of losing that.
I mean, we've done some modeling as a result of the research that we've done in regard to the impact of economic development in Monroe County, and the modeling has indicated to us that in regard to its favorable impact on a per person basis, it can range between $600 and $4,000 differential depending upon which district you're in, et cetera. And you know, and there's certain school districts in our marketplace where $4,000 is not as much relief as you'd like to have.
Unfortunately, we've got about a minute left, and I want to touch on the project, the Kalahari project. Okay. Because folks don't understand what's happening up there when you say when they're getting this tax break, and let's go through it, Chuck. But we have less than a minute, so go ahead.
It's not a tax break. What it does is it takes future tax revenue that will be generated by the new buildings.
Correct.
And commits that to fund the debt on specific infrastructure improvements that benefits everyone.
That means it's not a road on the site.
Right.
It's a road like 940 that everybody can use.
Right.
Correct.
All off-site infrastructure.
And it's money that we would have to improve these roads anyway with taxpayer dollars.
Actually, we should have done it long ago.
Exactly. Now the other thing is it's going to bring gas line. That gas line is going to be available to many more people. Right. Correct.
It's going to bring gas to our business park. It's going to bring gas to the businesses along 940 there.
Which helps, and then maybe create jobs because it'll lower the.
It should, well, we believe it will.
Right.
Absolutely.
And then you've got a water line coming up that's going to be available to other people. So there are things here. So now that company will pay property taxes on that land regardless, and on the improvements on the land, they'll recoup those dollars when their project gets paid for, correct?
Kalahari gets no break.
Exactly.
They have to pay full boat.
They're paying their taxes up front.
That's right.
Not to mention creating 800 to 1,200 jobs for our area.
That's where we were going to go. A $25 million payroll, 1% stays here between the school district and the local municipality. On top of that, we have added the $52 per tax that the municipality gets. So it's going to be a windfall. The jobs that get created, again, you're taking folks off the social services and you're putting them into employment, and the future possibility there of another 700 jobs alongside with the infrastructure already in place and the property tax are going to get paid there. So overall, it's a great project. And folks out there, if you have a question on it, I know you're going to see letters to the editor or whatever else, call my office. I'll gladly sit down and explain it to you, because it's a very important process. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much. We need to do this more often, because I think this was a great meeting, a great show to explain to folks exactly what you go through and what the process that we have to go through here in Monroe County.
And please, folks, go on monroecare.org. Sign up as a supporter. Come to our meetings. We need all the help that we can get. We have almost 300 members now.
Great.
Thank you, Mary, for
Thank
giving
you.
us this
Thank
opportunity.
you so much
you.
for letting us come.
That's all the time we have for today's program. I'm State Representative Mario Scavello. If you have any questions or any state matter, please feel free to contact me at my local office. My website, address, and phone numbers will be shown in a moment. Thanks for watching, and see you next time on Legislative Report.